Hello, my name is Eli Loft, and me and my group are currently working on Mentasist. It's going to be a counselor workflow management system. What that means is we are setting up the ability for a counselor to go through and do their treatment plans for their students, take notes on them, book appointments, and create different clients. Basically a whole system for her to better connect with her students. All right. So far the team is me and Sam on the back end, Kira and Ryland on the front end, and Ben and Boris on security and OPSEC. It's been mostly back end work um, up to this level, because it had to be set up mostly so Kira and Ryland can go in afterwards. So have mostly been setting up the database and setting up the server thus far. And we are currently handing it off to Ben and Boris. Right here is all of the different APIs we're using. We're using Fast API, Progress SQL, SQL Alchemy, Docker, and React on front end. Um, and then we also have the server is currently set up through UVcorn, and um, we mostly have the backend up at this point. We are just waiting on authorization through JWT, and Boris and Ben are working on that as we speak. And because the database is set up, we've already handed that off to Kira and Rylan, so they should be working on that going forward. Right. And then down here is just everything that our API, our minimal viable product should be given to our client. So we have client tracking, appointment scheduling, session documentation, and then treatment plan. All right. And I've been doing a lot of the back end work. For the last sprint, we had to get a lot done. Um, so we have the database architecture and we designed the schema for the user, client, and appointments. We already implemented the API so that front end can get up on it, and we did CRUD endpoints for clients and appointments through the API v1. Uh, we we actually originally started on a virtual environment in Python, and Boris had rightly pointed out that it would be much easier if we did everything through Docker for team integration. And so after that, we had switched everything over to Docker, and I was doing the splitter and getter and setter work with Sam, and we already published the live endpoints to the front end team so they can start working on that. What I've built, if you look over on the right hand side, that's going to be my VS Code at the terminal at the moment. It's we mostly worked on the appointment and client modules or so far, and we just put the user modules up after. Um, we have the server set up and Docker is currently set up, so we are pushing that to front end currently. And it'll have the full list of CRUD in the group me on the next slide. But we have we used Boris also pointed out that Expose is better than ports for security, so we went back and I changed some of the Docker information just because it's if we used ports, it's a security risk long term. Um, all right. And then right here is where we have the endpoints that I've already put live. Um, and this is going to be put out for front end. And then so far, this is over team experience, but this is the GroupMe we've been using. We've pretty much done a clear division of labor. Um, like I said, with me and Sam on the back end, Ben and Boris on the OPSEC, and then Kira and Ryland on front end. It helped us better organize the GitHub, which was my last big task, um, and making sure it was split so it was easier to look at and not come into any merge constraints. Um, so far, like I said, we've been pushed all the way through the database. The only ones we have right now are the treatment plans, I believe is the last module we need to work on. But I wanted to go ahead and get the user base up so that we can go ahead and do the authorization or the auth middleware. And it is currently, like I said, it was blocked by JWT. All right, that's everything. Um, like I said, fast API server through UVcorn, Docker and Postgres SQL container. Those are the two main ones that we've been using for pretty much everything, the main APIs. The database schema and roles, Ben actually helped a little bit on that for the database, but then we updated the schema and router um, previously for each of the individual modules in the architecture side. Um, the health and DB ping endpoints they were just implemented so that we could easily check if the server was up and running. Um, it was part of the first thing that we actually put in. Then we did the full client CRUD and the full appointment CRUD modules. And we ended with the user registration endpoint is where we're at now. We are looking at doing the notes and plans modules. Um, going next, I have a general skeleton worked out for it, but we have not yet put it up. That's going to be the first part of Sprint 3 for the backend team. The authorization middleware is we're waiting on Boris and Ben on that front, and Kieran Ryland for the front end integration. Um, and the main thing here is just the team coordination has been very good because we've been able to separate clearly into roles. I believe Kira's done a lot of the grunt work with actually keeping up with our sponsor, um, and making sure our meetings are like very often and making sure that, we have everything in on time. All right. And then backend is production ready. Like I said, we started very backend heavy because we had to have a lot of the things live for front end. And so Sprint 2, they have a lot of the CRUD live endpoints to actually start on for front end. And then notes and plans is the first part that we are doing on for Sprint 3, and then we'll pass that off as well. All right, and then that is my presentation. So thank you for watching this video.